to our next speaker. So our next speaker has actually attended our previous SSO as an audience. So thank you for coming back and actually being a panelist. This speaker has graduated from the University of Santo Thomas, majoring in Bachelor of Science and in Architecture. He is currently in the internal business coordinator for their decade-old catering business. He is also a coffee enthusiast and a home cook, his love for food stemming from his upbringing and his mixed local culture. I'm so excited to introduce you all to Mr. Mike.
Hi, hello. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
we can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Without further ado, thank you for the introduction. Hello and good afternoon. I'm Michael Magnaye. You can call me Mike. Adding to the introduction, I mainly deal with the internal side of our business, more on the mundane desk work. But I do dabble on the food side every now and then. I'll be sharing my thoughts and opinions based on my experience and perspective as someone who has been in the sideline of both the business and the personal aspect of my family's shared love of food. My mother was a farmer during her childhood and teens as they grew up poor, and farming was the only source of living available to them at the time. With my grandmother still farming up until her 80s. When we would go to our home province, my mom would always point out at the fields and say, "This is where we grew rice and other produce." She was also the one who gave me and my brother our love for food. Sorry. Okay, so yeah,
It is
picture of
in the
my mom,
introduction.
picture of the fields. Yeah, so she was also the one who gave me and my brother our love for food. With my brother taking up hotel and restaurant management in college and a certification for cookery, while I did my own with home cooking and food tasting, different cuisines such as a majority of Asian cuisine, European, and American. I'm still a beginner in this field, so please do bear with me for any misconceptions or wrong information about what is discussed today, so feel free to correct me or ask me anything after. So let us proceed further by telling you how we deal with agriculture and food as a business dedicated to serving food. We could all agree that farming, especially farmers, are important, uh, but let us discuss further as to why they are important from a food business perspective. We as consumers want quality, especially for food, wherein the quality of produce will determine how tasty or nutritious our food is, or how much it'll cost. Ask any shopper or vendor how much out of season fruits and vegetables cost, and they will tell you that they are more expensive than when they are in season. Yet they are still within reach of the average consumer due to the advances in preservation by our farmers and food scientists. You can enjoy a watermelon even in December or tamarinds in the summer. Since different produce is available almost any day of the year now, the only thing we deal with now is price fluctuation and quality for the most part. How do we get the best deal out of everything available while still providing quality service and taste? One step is recognizing your supply, and a good farmer is one who can churn out quality supply every time. This does not come cheap, mind you. So investing and protecting farms and farmers is key in providing quality service and taste. This also includes aquaculture industries like Dr. Chona said. Since we are in the business side of things, we are deeply affected by the increasing prices and dwindling supply of different produce. Uh, from fresh fruits and vegetables, grains, and meat, it has become increasingly harder for our farmers to gain a living. Less and less, this is marketing expenses from last year for the last quarter of our business, which shows that in the months from September to December, our expenses uh, rise. So we had to cut costs to ensure that we would give the best quality that we can provide. Uh, Less and less people are entering agriculture here in the Philippines, and according to the Philippine Statistical Authority, The total number of people employed in agriculture went down from 10 million in 2018 to 9.7 million in 2019. This may be perceived as low, but this was already a 14% drop from 2015, wherein there were 11.3 million people employed in the sector at the time. Wages have not increased as quickly, and the pandemic has certainly made it harder for everyone. So, how do we deal with this issue in business? As a disclaimer, these are my own thoughts and opinions and are not in any way, shape, or form the overall opinion of our company. While these may be shared by most of the management, I am not in the place to say that these are the complete opinion of the company. With that out of the way, I can say my thoughts and learnings. I believe that we pay for the quality of our produce, and we as a company strives to meet the balance between cost and quality. So to further ensure the quality that we receive to make the best deal, we invest largely on the sources of our produce. We source our meat from a local butcher who sources their meat directly from livestock they keep and manage. We buy our fruits and veggies early in the morning where the deliveries come in so we can talk with the producers and ask about the conditions of the produce to ensure that they can be the best that they can be. We replenish our supplies constantly to keep up with the standards of freshness so that we can provide the best taste to our food. Investing directly and building a relationship of trust is key to getting the best service from these sectors. I advise everyone to take time and look at the quality of your ingredients. Visit farmers markets, local butchers, know your produce and the people behind it. See the love and care that they put into every part of it, and surely it will reflect on the quality of the product you can get. Straying away from traditional farming, we can look at alternative ways of farming where some could say it as farming in the future. In architecture school, we investigated different ways of improving the agriculture industry in the country due to rapid urbanization and the decline of interest in farming as mentioned before. Hence, we arrived at different suggestions integrated into our projects, such as hydroponics and aquaponics. One such project that has executed this topic beautifully was Ton Pascual's architectural thesis, which is a integrated hydroponic farming and musical center situated in Quezon City. He combined urban farming with the creative building typology and has integrated the system into his design. The project includes a maintained hydroponic farm, which is exposed to sunlight during the day and further maintained with UV light shown in the artistic renders provided by Ton. Here are some of the programs dedicated to that project, which includes the youth, farmers, musicians, and also the public. Here are the calendar of activities, which are which caters to those groups of people. Uh, Another project that has integrated urban farming into its typology is the Flats BGC, designed by Vision Art. The building is a co-living residential tower which has integrated a more traditional approach to urban farming to its users. These advances in urban farming can make the livelihood and the vocation of farming more accessible to the urban populace, while also making the produce at your dinner table cheaper since you're dealing with it directly as opposed to traditional methods due to the middleman. This can also add to solving scarcity issues as this compact way of farming can be modular and installed even in condos or city centers, wherein space is expensive and every square meter matters. The practice of keeping microgreens in the kitchen is already in place in some whole kitchens, so why not peer into the future and see an ensemble of fruits and vegetables that can be plucked directly into a literal farm-to-plate salad. So, as someone who deals with the business of food, we are constantly dealing with food waste and pollution, which trickles down to the environment down the line. To say that we are not affected by pollution and climate change because we are just a small business is outright false and untrue. Air quality, soil quality, water quality all affects the outcome of our crops and livestock. Further pollution would lead to accelerated and irreversible climate change, which could lead to greater temperature differences, which would make it harder to harvest seasonal crops, as some may not be in the ideal condition when harvested at traditional periods of time. The rise of diseases also plays a part in this, as we have experienced here in the Philippines with pork prices going up due to the swine flu. These occurrences will happen more often than we think due to our impact in the world. In 2018, crops and livestock production contributed around 69% or more than two-thirds in emissions due to agriculture in Asia. Being smart in choosing our produce and how we process them is key to making sure that we are helping the environment, and when we do so, we also help ourselves. Choosing less processed food and produce, supporting local businesses, products, and farms, knowing key practitioners of environmentally safe farming, mixing and matching your diet in accordance with seasonal availability, and lessening dependence on imports could help in reducing our individual carbon footprint. When we talk about business, we are focused on creating connections that will make the processes and procedures more efficient. We research, develop, create, and sell the product so that it could benefit the consumer. This is all the more important in the business of agriculture and food, wherein time and research is key in ensuring the quality of ingredients, and of course, we have the logistics of it all to think about. How we perceive the food on our plates from a business perspective is no more different from knowing where to buy and what time you buy it. It is just more nuanced on our end. So, the next time you bite into that onigiri, or slurp on that ramen, or chow down on a rice, think about how it came to be. What are the processes and decisions that came about when deciding on what the end product is and how it will all come out? The story of a single grain of rice might surprise you when you learn about the food on our plates. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mike. If you could stop sharing your screen first, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. And yeah, first, thank you so much for the memes. I very much enjoyed it. It was my generation memes. So I understood every single one of them. And then also your perspective from a business standpoint. I think personally, I've never heard of a business standpoint on agriculture, so it was very insightful for me. Thank you so much. And now we are going to the Q&A. So again, if anybody in the audience would like to talk and ask questions verbally, please feel free to raise your hand and unmute yourself. If not, we are going to look at Slido. So if you would like to type in your questions on Slido, that's definitely great. Oh, okay, cool. So it seems like there are some questions. Okay. Okay, so let's look at the first question, or the top question, which is, what is your opinion on companies that exploit their farmers? What can we do to avoid these? So these are pretty heavy questions. Mr. Mike, do you have any insight?
What I can say is, from my opinion, it's very hard to avoid these companies. These are very, very big companies and conglomerates that control a large part of our food industry. I can't say some of the names that I don't really support, but you cannot avoid them. One company that starts with N, I think most of us know who these are. They really do exploit many of our resources, and these are also the types of people that will also scream like reduce our individual carbon footprints and whatnot. While these are good, it's a bit hypocritical to hear it from them, knowing that they are the ones who are really exploiting most of our resources here. So my overall opinion is that you can't really avoid them, but knowing how and when to avoid them is key to being more aware of how you consume products. So that's why I push more on local businesses, supporting them, local farmers, so that you don't really use most of the products of these companies. Yeah. I hope that answers your
Thank you,
question.
Mr. Mike. Yes, I think it does. Thank you. Yes, I do like how you said that it's going to be inevitable. There is going to be businesses that's going to exploit people. So I think it's a good advice to use local small businesses. It seems like Dr. Chona was nodding and agreeing a lot on the couple of things that Mr. Mike was saying. Did you have anything to add on, Dr. Chona?
I think it's quite sad that in the Philippines and a lot of different parts of the world, our fishers and our farmers are some of the poorest of the poor. And so it really is about time that more of us would speak up for them so that we can help improve the conditions that they have for life. So I salute you, Mike, and your company for all the effort that you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for chiming in, Dr. Chona. Okay, thank you. So let's do one more question, maybe. Due to time constraints, I'm really sorry about that. But let's do the top one. To Mr. Mike, do you think vertical farming is sustainable for the future? Can it be applied anywhere?
I do think it's sustainable. There could be more improvements in the practice, like for example, the use of UV lights, wherein some types of UV lights are not as economic in what we could use. Also, our water use, the types of plants that we grow. Adding to that, also aquaponics, which also integrates fish into its overall system. I think it could be further improved. But yes, I think it's sustainable for the future. As for if it could be applied anywhere, I do think so because of its modularity and overall sensitivity to what is available around us. But you cannot be so certain as to say that it is the answer to most of our or all of our problems with regards to food and agriculture because it is a bigger problem that vertical farming cannot solve. It's more of an issue with regards to consumption, um, practice or practices more on, and also how we use our resources. So yeah, that's about it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mike. I also do agree that it is sustainable and it could be one of the solutions, but it won't solve everything. So thank you so much again. And again, a last round of applause to Mr. Mike. Thank you. And I would like to say thank you so much for all the audiences for asking questions. I do apologize for not being able to cover them all. Maybe at the end of the event we can cover it. We'll see. But first, let us take an intermission break.